And that's why Hearthswarming Tale is the best fucking episode of MLP Fim ever. Okay, maybe not that far, but that was a pretty damn awesome episode. If you're like me and snuck a peek at the preview of the trailer for this one, you saw Starlight Glimmer in arguably the most badass villain song on the show. I legit got chills picturing Starlight Glimmer destroying the holiday, assuming she'd fallen off the good guy wagon, and then we found out the damn thing was a flashback, with Starlight Glimmer being the avatar of possibly a fictitious character known as Snowfall. The part I found most enjoyable is that it implied that Hearthswarming Tale, and possibly the first one, are potentially nonsense, meaning the story about the 3 warring pony tribes that found Equestria, in the fashion that they did, is more folklore and legend than actual history, i.e. more of a tale of Robin Hood than anything else. That might be confusing why that's a good thing, so let me explain. Continuity works very well when it brings everything together, but it also is a huge breaking point if the writers decide to ignore it. So if Snowfall, and by extension a Hearthswarming Tale, is potentially BS, that would be the point. If the story is partially true, the writers of the show are more than able to go back and retcon parts or the entire darn thing. Remember in the season premiere when everyone got up in arms when Celestia's remark about the born unicorns in Equestria? This happened because of a certain book getting called canon. Now Haber has decided to potentially go in a different direction, and either the old one has to be ignored, or there's going to take some clever writing which might turn into a plot hole. Now that you understand this, and potentially all Hearthswarming Tale is phony baloney, Season 6 is adapting to a more flexible format. And bear with me, I say potentially, later on the writers could choose to say more on these stories, whether they're true or canon. This should, in theory, keep everyone happy. Let's talk about another one of the great breakout moments with Luna as the ghost of Hearthswarming Future. Now I've heard it suggested that a Discord would have been amazing here, or even Sombre, and visibly I agree yes. But Luna's haunting echo and her song is simply something I think even John Delancey would fail to pull off. It's the perfect example of Luna using fear and terror, and who better than the Mistress of the Night? For anyone out there saying Luna is overrated, clearly are going to ignore this, and pretend none of this ever happened. The show seems to notice this so far as to take one of those critics and put them in the episode, as if to call them on it. Proof's in the pudding, and we'd be remiss not to talk about some of the less than stellar moments in this episode. For example, till now I've heard various people grumble at times when the show is a bit heavy-handed with the friendship agenda. Until now I've pointed at the title and said, well, I mean that's the point of Friendship is Magic. Part of what made the original Christmas Carol work was the importance of family, much like Scrooge learning to be there for his nephew. There is no family connection in the Snowfall story. There is no real cruelty between Snowfall and her apprentice. I understand that this is a 22-minute episode, but Snowfall just goes full-blown Light Yagami, directing to make the world a better place because the episode, or rather the folklore, needs her to do so. Snowfall finds ponies being happy on Hearthswarming Eve annoying, and after hearing that first song on the show, I kinda agree. So, once upon a time ago, Snape from Harry Potter told Snowfall that Hearthswarming Eve was stupid, which, ironically enough, is a better backstory than what Starlight Glimmer got. We're to assume the otherwise rational, learned individual would get fed up and go off the rail. But again, this is why this story is told to be folklore, and not in fact, fact. And that is what makes it better. It implies some pony somewhere out there, possibly someone on Celestia's payroll, cooked up this tale to further the friendship agenda. I wasn't keen on Applejack as a ghost at first, but the scene grew on me, as did the song, and it didn't become a chore to sit through. I've started to forget what it looks like when Pinky's execution stumbles. And it's certainly been a while, and I want to be clear, and it's not that she shouldn't have been the ghost of Hearthswarming, but she felt obnoxious as opposed to heartfelt. There's also the moment where the child sees Pinky as a ghost, where she's tap dancing, and you can play the, well, it's Pinky card. By comparison, where they used Luna to terrify, where her aesthetic and appearance felt more immersive. I couldn't help feel pulled out of the experience by Pinky this time. The ghost of Christmas Present in the original story is supposed to invoke an emotion in the viewer. Pinky is too busy goofing off as a result. I'm pulled out of the scene. So in the end, we have 2 great songs, one you might see covered on this channel down the road, and don't worry, I'll be getting a professional for that, and a story for all its faults that doesn't fudge anything down the line for the continuity of the show. And there is one last misstep. That's the one that sets the table, so to speak, for the episode. Starlight Glimmer didn't need to learn this lesson. She said that Hearthswarming Eve was silly. She didn't go around trying to convince other people not to do it. She just didn't want anything to do with it herself. There was no impending peril in her not embracing the tradition. Her not learning this lesson was not going to make her value friendship less, nor was it going to put anyone in trouble. There was no moral for Starlight Glimmer, and the whole episode literally happens for no good reason. It's kind of like being in a Skype call with Brawny Buck where everyone is having a casual conversation, maybe goofing off. Brawny suddenly breaks into a half-hour to an hour lecture about how we need to live our lives to be better people. Except Starlight Glimmer doesn't get to say shut the fuck up or leave. Closing thoughts? I did have fun on this ride, but I do find myself asking if this one will age well. See you next time.